Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for this speech and Q&A. There will be an ample Q&A time. From my perspective on finance magnates, I know that every article we publish about Google's ban, Google change of policy for the industry, these are the most popular by far. There's a mini blizzard of comments, of questions, and many times our community says, I wish we could just ask Google a few things. So now we have the opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, Evita Resti, analytical consultant at Google, will usher us through some of the trends that Google would like to relate to. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Oh, I see the room, it's full this year. So welcome to the IF Expo. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you very much also for having us here today, because that will give us the opportunity to talk about what happened in the Forex industry in general over the past year, but also at the very end we're going to talk about the policy, and we will take as much question as we can within our time frame. So before we kick off this presentation, let me talk a little bit about ourselves and my co-presenters and co-workers. So we are a team working and managing and supporting clients in Greece, Cyprus, Bulgaria, and Malta mainly. My name is Evita Resti. I'm an analytical consultant, and I'm going to walk you through a presentation presenting the industry trends and the demand of Forex and CFDs over the past year. And then my colleague, Olga Sarli, who's an industry manager in our team, is going to talk about the CPCs and give you an overview on that. And then policy with Panos Labrakos, who's our sector lead, and then we'll take all of your questions, hopefully. So let's kick off with the industry analysis. So we see here this trend represents all global Forex, CFD, and commodity queries. We exclude from this trend US, Japan, and Turkey. We see that there is an increase year over year. And when we say year over year, we compare 2017 with 2018. So we see that there are also some fluctuation as they're flagged in the graph. These are the first one in June 2016. This was the Brexit, and then another spike was followed in November 2016, which was the US election of Donald Trump. Overall, an increase. So putting the dimension and the perspective of geography, we have a split here of 6 key geographies, and we see that the increase comes mainly from Africa, LATAM, which is late Latin America countries, and Asia. We see the highest in LATAM with 26% year over year, again having compared Q1 of 2018 with Q1 2017. Putting now the perspective of devices. Here we see a split in devices, in the 3 main devices, which are computers, the gray one, then the blue one, which are mobiles, and the small one, the black one at the bottom, which are the tablets. We see that year over year, beginning from 2015, there is an increase in mobiles, so which is strong enough, and it's apparent also month by month. By March 2018, so this March, this comes to almost 55%. Putting the geographic perspective on this device breakdown, we see that most of the queries are searched in desktop are coming from European countries. Let's take an example. The computer here, in order for you to understand the graph, is the blue shaded area. So, for example, Germany, still 60% of the searches are searched in desktop. Moving to the theme of stocks, which is a hot theme as we move along, we see that from October 2015 there is an increase, and this comes to a year over year, comparing this year to 2017, of 26% almost. And we see that it's still global stocks queries are increasing, so their volume and their demand. Even hotter topic, cryptocurrencies. So there is a global high increase in cryptocurrencies as well. These has started from February of 2017, and it comes up to a very high point, which started in October 2017 until January, and this was due to the Bitcoin, and this is also apparent by the Bitcoin price. So actually the previous graph, as we can see, is following the Bitcoin price over time. And seeing here, this trend represents the Bitcoin price, and it's actually comes to a very high point, which is December 2017 until January, and then it comes to more normal levels. So it's actually normalizing. Having now a split of all crypto coins, we see that in the top 5 positions we have Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, and then the other two, these 3, Bitcoin, Ripple, Ethereum, comes and have the greatest demand. And also the Bitcoin, as you can see, it's more apparent, it's the red, the first line, and then the Ripple, and then the Ethereum. And the other 2 of the top 5 are Litecoin and cryptocurrency. So in general, all keywords that have and include the word cryptocurrency by itself. And here we put a geographic perspective, which is related also to the previous graph. So we see actually that 5 out of the 10 countries of the top 10 countries actually, in terms of queries volume, are coming from Europe. So if you see, excluding the first, the red one, which is United States, we see that Germany, it's United Kingdom, and Italy, France, Netherlands. So in the top 5, 5 of them are from Europe. So moving to the second section of our presentation, this is related to the searches per region. So now we have all aggregated searches, such as CFD, Forex, stocks, cryptocurrencies, everything all together, but with a split per region and then per country. So let's start with the European region. We have the top 10 countries here showing how the queries, the global queries related to everything, all themes, are going. We see an overall growth of 40% year over year, with the best markets being Switzerland, Germany, and Spain. The blue, the first one, is increasing, is United Kingdom, but it has a less increase than the other 3 markets, and it's increasing by 12% year over year. Moving to Southeast Asia region, we see that there's a great increase of India. It's the blue first line, which is apparent from the others, by 36%. Overall, again, we have more than 30% year-over-year growth, and mainly coming from India, Thailand, and Vietnam. Here we have the GCC and Africa region. So we see again more than 30% year-over-year growth to this as well. And with Saudi Arabia, which has the only slight decrease in this greater region, with minus 11%. So Saudi Arabia seems to be decreasing from 2017 to 18. So now I'll pass the microphone to my colleague Olga Sarli, who's going to talk of an interesting topic.
Thank you, Evita. Okay, so now we're going to see an area that I know you are all very interested in, and these are CPCs. Since I joined Google, I always hear that CPCs are increasing and what we can do about this. I do not agree with this, and I will show you why. So before we begin, let me tell you that CPCs are based on the same bunch of keywords that Evita mentioned before, which is stock trading, CFD trading, and all the Forex related. So in Europe, we see that CPCs are decreasing year on year if we compare 2017 with 2016. And in, well, I cannot see it. And in computers, the decrease is 20%, and in mobiles, it's 46% year on year. What we should keep from here is, apart from the decrease in CPCs, that the mobile CPCs are lower than those in desktops. And please keep it in mind, because we will see it later on as well. In Southeast Asia, we have almost stable year-on-year change, and a slight increase in computers by 4% and slight increase by 2% in mobiles. Again, here, CPCs in mobiles are much lower, and almost half of those in computers. In GCC and Africa, CPCs are increasing, and especially the end of 2017, as you can see. And it's 3% for computers and 16% increase for mobiles. But again, the mobile CPCs are lower than the desktop CPCs. So in order to conclude, CPCs are not always increasing. There are ups and downs, and it depends on the region and, of course, on the device. But what we see in all three regions is that CPCs in mobiles are lower than those in desktops. The next section has to do about keyword themes. We will deep dive in the three regions that we have seen so far. And we will see some basic metrics about specific themes. These metrics are average CPCs, average number of ads per search, which is an indication of competition, and of course, volume. Let me explain the graph first. On the y-axis, we have the average CPCs. So the lower the bubble, the less the CPC. On the x-axis, on the horizontal axis, we have the average number of ads. So the left, as you can see, the bubble is, the lower ads exist per search. And of course, the size of the bubble represents the volume of searches. Each bubble is a different theme. We have CFD trading, cryptocurrencies, Forex accounts, stock trading, Forex generic, etc. You can see it on the right corner. So in Europe, the biggest theme is stock trading, followed by Forex generic and cryptocurrencies high-end. So here we use only keywords related to trade Bitcoin and not general Bitcoin or Bitcoin price. Okay. We can see that in terms of CPCs, all these three themes are almost the same, but stock trading are more left of the graph, so there is lower competition and less number of ads per search on average. And you can see the other themes also in the spread betting, which is the more expensive, let's say, theme. In Southeast Asia, similar graph again. Again, stock trading is the biggest category, followed by Forex generic and then cryptocurrencies and Forex platforms. But here you can see that in terms of CPC, stock trading is lower, and cryptocurrencies also is lower for Forex generic. Okay. While in terms of ads, number of ads, stock trading is around 2.9 ads per search, while in Forex generics around 4, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. In GCC and Africa, again here stock trading is the biggest theme, followed by Forex generic, Forex platforms, and cryptocurrencies. But here, stock trading has less CPC and less ads per search. Again, cryptocurrencies theme has less CPCs than Forex generic. So each theme performs different in each region. Okay, and the demand, again, in these themes different per region. So this is something that you should have in mind when you're creating campaigns and you're measuring their performance. Okay, so in order to conclude our part and then move to policy with Panos, there are 4 things that I would like to keep from this presentation. First one, market events drive demand, such as Brexit referendum or US elections that Evita mentioned earlier. Second of all is that searches are increasing, and especially in mobiles, as we have seen. And this makes some clients across industry to change their strategy to try to create more better actual mobile sites, but in terms of speed and in terms of mobile friendly, etc., and also implementing apps. Third of all, CPCs are lower in mobile devices across regions in regards to computers. And as we have mentioned before, CPCs are depending on region, device, and keyword theme, as we saw in the previous section. Fourth is that each theme performs differently in each region, and that stock trading is bigger across these three regions that we have seen. So that's all from us. Pano, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I get the easy part of the presentation today, Google policy. So there's going to be three parts. The first part is going to take maximum 5 minutes. I'm going to talk about the context of our policy team, because I'm with Vita and Olga, I'm on the business side for Google and helping large Forex advertisers, but there's also a policy team that works on Google policies. And today I'm going to try and change the hat and talk about this part of Google policy. Then we're going to play a game, and I would like to assess your knowledge of the new Google policy. And then we're going to deep dive on the policy, and hopefully there's going to be a Q&A in the end of the session, and you can ask me any questions you have. So we start with the context. So the objectives of Google policy are the following. So we want to create a smooth user experience. So users using all our products want them to be delighted. We want advertisers to have high quality of ads, no misleading ads, no misleading content on the landing pages, and for Google not to get into trouble, to be compliant with local regulation. So ad policies like this one was developed to help people save online. And why we're saying that? Because in the past couple of years, we had a lot of complaints from binary, from abusive behavior of some brokers, for misleading content. So Google policy took this into account, as well as local regulatory laws to develop this policy. And why are we doing this? Because this is 2011. This is very important to follow local regulation, because Google was fined $500 million from the US government in 2011. What happened was that we permitted Canadian pharmacies to advertise and offer to US clients prescription drugs, right? And also, although the revenue from these pharmacies was very limited, we got a fine of $500 million from the US government, right? So we want always, our policy team will also try to protect Google. Yes. Okay, so there's a new policy coming up, and there's thousands and millions of ads, and you're probably wondering how this will be monitored. And actually, it's going to be done through machine learning, right? So our algorithms will be able to find ads that will not comply with the new regulation, and probably these ads will be disapproved. And actually, to give you an order of magnitude, in 2017, 3.8 billion ads across industries were disapproved. Now, let's go to the new financial policy, and I'll take you through the steps that we took to develop it. So the first step is there has to be a problem or an opportunity. In this case, there was a lot of complaints. Google thought that there was some abuse going on, or some users were facing some risks. So started reviewing the CFD binary cryptocurrency space. Then there's the second part, which has to do with policy design. And when this is happening, usually Google will not develop. We will not develop the policy ourselves. We will seek guidance and advice from external advisors. And these are usually local legal firms. So we seek a lot of help from outside local firms to develop this policy. And that's why you see in some countries it will be permitted to advertise, and in other countries will not be permitted to advertise. And this is based on the feedback we got from legal advisors. Then there's the implementation. So there's a lot of engineering changes that need to happen to the AdWords product for the policies to be enforced. Of course, these kind of changes are not visible to advertisers, but happen in the background at Google. And then there's the communication and the period that we inform advertisers that the new policy will take place. Now, when designing a policy, we take multiple factors, right, into account. So, of course, banning CFD or cryptocurrency ads will hurt our business and we'll get less advertising revenue. Of course, we'll consider that. We also consider the impact on the user, impact on advertisers, impact on local communities, on certain industries. So we take a 360 approach when develop such policies. And we are aware that at some point, some groups of people will not be happy with the final policy, but we believe overall for our values and for the users, this kind of policies usually are for the best. Okay, so this concludes the first part, which has to do with the Google, like the context behind the Google policies. And we go to the game time now. So I would like everyone please to stand up. So I would like to understand how much you know the Google policy. So I will ask questions. These are not my questions. These are questions that I've been asked. So I didn't originate these questions. But marketeers in the Forex industry or people in this expo have asked me. So I'm going to start with the warm-up questions, and then we move to the most difficult. First, question and warm-up. I believe that Google is bluffing. I don't think this policy will ever take place, and you're just checking our reflexes. So people who believe this, raise your hands. This policy will never take place. I saw one person there. Okay, so yes. This, unfortunately for some groups, yes, this policy will take place. So it's not a bluff. In June, it will start being implemented. Question number 2. I have a friend within Google and an agency that knows someone in Google, and they will be able to make it happen for me. So my account will not be impacted by the new policy. I will continue to advertise everywhere without any issues. People that believe this is true, raise your hands. Okay, good. This group, yeah, you're very good. Okay, now trick question. People that really know the policy will be able to answer this. All cryptocurrency ads will be banned by Google. People that believe that cryptocurrency ads will be banned by Google, raise your hands. Come on. Okay, people that raised your hands, please sit down. Actually, no, CFD-regulated brokers will still be able to advertise CFDs on cryptocurrencies. And in H2, a new policy around cryptocurrencies will be developed. So based on the whitelisting process, exchanges and wallets will still be able to advertise. Question number 4. Difficult, even my colleagues from Google will not be able to answer that, probably. Yeah. Advertising in Ukraine will be allowed when the new policy kicks in. So people that believe that they will still be able, with the regulated brokers, to advertise in Ukraine, please have your hand down. People that believe that advertising in Ukraine will not be allowed, please raise your hand. Okay, people that raise their hands can still continue, be standing. The rest, please sit down. Okay. We have a few strong players. Okay, the people that know the policy. Last question. Same question for Estonia. Will advertising be permitted in Estonia or not? So people that believe that you'll be able to advertise in Estonia, please raise your hands. Otherwise, okay, people that have their hands up, they stay in, they're the winners. And the rest can sit down. Okay. Good, very good group. So you've done your homework. I'm really happy. You can sit down. Thank you. Thank you. So basically, Ukraine is not. Yeah. Please go ahead. We're done. So basically, Ukraine is not in the EU. So all members of a part of France and Belgium with a CISEC or FCA or any European license will be able to advertise with the new policy. Estonia is part of the EU, so advertising in Estonia will be permitted. Let's move. So we have a policy page. I'm sure most of you have seen this, that describes the new policy and basically says the following. Right? There are 5 sensitive categories monitored by the policy. This is online, right? If you search Google AdWords policy for financial products, you'll get in this page. So first, let's take the first category, which is cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies, the buying and selling of Bitcoins, Ethereum will be prohibited starting in June until the new policy comes, which is not yet developed, in H2. So exchanges and wallets, ICOs will not be able to advertise, okay, and advertise themselves. But CFDs on cryptocurrencies for brokers that are certified in certified regions would be able to be advertised. So I'm a broker, I have a license in FCA, I'm in the UK, and I would like to promote CFDs on cryptocurrencies. I'm able to. Okay? Clear for everyone? No. If you're regulated as a broker, you can do it. Not any European regulator. It's fine. It's fine. So if you have a European license in Europe, you can still advertise CFDs. The same for Australia license, South Africa, go on. Binaries. Binaries, unfortunately, at this point, we believe there is a major risk and there is abuse online with binary products. So any kind of advertising around binary products will not be permitted going forward. Let's go now to the CFD part and brokers. There are three. I don't know. Let's keep the questions at the end. Yeah. So the question was about Brexit, but I'll take questions at the end. Now there are three parts of operators that you need to pay attention of content. So spread betting will be monitored, CFD, any kind of CFD mention, and spot Forex. So brokers that need to promote this kind of products will need to get whitelisted, meaning they will have to upload there is a registration process through this site, the license they have from CISEC or the local regulatory body they have, and then their account will be whitelisted, their domain as well, and they will be able to advertise as they used to. So for regulated regions where whitelisting exists, business as usual, nothing changes. Okay, so can you please click here, sir? No? Okay, this is, let's do this. This is, yeah. So let's go to Europe, Africa, Middle East. So you can navigate this page. Can you please click on this arrow, please? scroll. Yeah, so here you can see the specifics per country, right? And it's exhaustive. So you have all the information you need. For Europe, any European license could do. For South Africa, for example, you need the Financial Services Board of South Africa in order to yes, FSB in order to advertise. Now, when will this take place? We believe it will happen at one point within June, probably towards the end of June, but we don't have a final date. What will happen then? Ads will start being disapproved in regions where you're not licensed or they're not allowed, advertising is allowed by this policy. One very important part of this you should have in mind is that the policy is applicable on the ad level, meaning that where you don't have a license, you cannot advertise spread betting, spot Forex on the ad, as well as in the landing page. So our policies will review the landing pages, not the entire website. So one click away from the landing page, content around CFDs and Forex could be allowed. Okay? I think this is it pretty much. I'm open for questions. 2 rules for questions. First rule, I didn't write the policy. I might not have all the answers. Second rule, please have generic questions that are for the entire group, because questions around policy can be very specific, asking me, okay, in the second page, in the disclaimer, having this word, is it? Yeah, I'm not going to answer this kind of question. So please, questions that will benefit the entire audience.
So if you have a license in Europe, can you, let's say, advertise in Africa or anywhere else?
No. The short answer is no. Basically, all this information is here. With a European license, you cannot advertise in the 28 members of the EU, a part of France and Belgium, with any European license. So it's FCA, CISEC, Greek, Hellenic stock market, yeah.
So you basically need to have like a license from every regulatory authority from...
that you would like to advertise. Same for example, if a broker would like to advertise in Australia, they need the Australian local license, basically. So there's no passporting, and yeah.
So, hi, I'm from Equity. We are actually currently going through the certification process for certain regions that we have licenses in. My problem is I'm not getting an answer from Google specific to a couple of countries. We are the first ones to get a license in Kenya, and it's not there on the list. Jordan, we again are the first ones to get a license there, but Jordan's not on the list. How do we get the certification?
Short answer, you can't at the moment. And I'll explain why. I'll explain why. So this policy globally was developed as taking legal advisory per country. So there needs to be a legal framework per country for Google to follow, right? I don't know the specific of Jordan and Kenya, why these 2 countries were not included, but my assumption would be there's not a proper legal framework around spot Forex CFDs. Now, if there is, I'm not an expert, what we can do is we can make a case with our policy team and open it as a country. This takes time, and again, because Google will have to ask our legal advisors per country, per market, and see if it makes sense, if it's okay to do it. But it can be done, yes. No. The only region that is considered as one is Europe. The rest of the countries have local licenses up to this point.
Basically, I would like to ask, what about the countries which are not regulated at all? And there will be like no regulation coming in like next, let's say, 5 years.
What do you think? Yeah. So countries, imagine the following. That Google policy for cryptocurrency, binaries, and CFDs closed globally and reopened for the countries that are here. Okay. So countries that are not regulated at the moment, and there's no legal framework, unfortunately, you won't be able to advertise CFDs, spot Forex. Now, this kind of content will not be permitted. But, for example, a business like a pure brokerage, let's say Robinhood, that was all Wealthfront, which they could advertise because then they're not using CFDs or so. There are themes in the wider financial investing universe you could still use, provided that in your landing page you don't mention spot Forex, spread betting, CFDs.
Hello.
Yeah.
Two questions actually. Does this policy apply only for advertising or for indexing as well?
No. There's not going to be any. You're talking about SEO. It will not affect SEO.
No. I mean indexing just in the search engines. Nothing. No restrictions there.
No. Yeah. No
Okay.
problem.
And the second question is, what about other service providers that are targeting brokers, for example? Will there be any limitations for them to advertise cryptocurrencies, CFDs, feed? So it's not targeting retail clients, but targeting financial institutions. Technology providers and so on and so on.
It depends on the. So aggregators will not be able to advertise. Okay. Now technology providers, if their ads and landing pages do not contain any of these elements, they can still advertise. Yes. So please wait for the microphone so everyone can.
I have a question. You told like it's prohibited advertisement for the spot Forex, but the banks, they have license for spot Forex. The bank is part of the financial industry, and the banks, they have license to provide spot Forex. Also, you told it's not possible to advertise the cryptocurrency exchange, but it's possible CFD on cryptocurrency exchange. How the client supposed to find out the the price of each cryptocurrency if you're supposed to block it? To be honest, I don't understand.
I sense you have multiple questions there. And
The first about spot Forex,
okay.
This is licensing for the banks. It's also part of financial market.
Okay, so are you asking, sorry, because I'm not, currency exchange?
Currency exchange, it's spot Forex.
Okay,
This
so
is licensed.
currency exchanges will be allowed. Yes? Now, CFDs or complex financial instruments behind spot Forex will not be allowed, which are offered by the majority of brokers. So banks for currency exchange, pure currency exchange, will be able to advertise.
Yeah, but you told CFDs advertisement it's allowed, yeah?
No.
Contract for different financial instrument.
In regulated countries, yes.
Yes, of course.
Yes, it will
And
be.
you're talking about CFDs for cryptocurrencies, which actually taken as a financial instrument according to MiFID II as well. Yesterday we had Mrs. Kalagiru here.
Yes.
Yeah? So she allowed actually to trade CFD on cryptocurrencies.
Exactly. Yes, it will be allowed on countries where brokers have license and will be whitelisted.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Yes.
From the perspective of the affiliates, what will they be able to do, etc.? No advertising whatsoever, or will they be able to advertise education?
It depends on the content. So if the content includes these 5 categories, you won't be able aggregators will not be able to advertise, even if it's educational. So learn how to trade CFDs on stocks. This will not be permitted. But our policy team are currently reviewing, and our policies will be continuously changing because some aggregators can't be whitelisted, so they can receive license from FCA, right? So we're looking into that because if FCA could license aggregators, why Google shouldn't follow that? So we're looking into it, but starting in June, this is how the policy will be, the initial phase of the policy. Yeah.
What about alternative platforms like Facebook, for example? Because root cause of all these regulations and stuff is the same for Facebook and Google, but final requirements can be actually different. Final rules, etc. So I believe you actually keep an eye, at least, what Facebook is doing in every region in this regard.
Or the other way around as well.
Or other way around, maybe.
Okay.
I mean, is it going to be the same, or might be for different regions different, actually?
I cannot answer for Facebook and other platforms.
Yeah, I understand.
Yes. What I know is that for all Google platforms, meaning that Google Search, GDN, YouTube, DoubleClick, AdX, the policy will be the same. So there's not going to be a product that the policy will not apply and another product that it will apply. So it's going to be a uniform policy across all Google products. Now, for the rest, history have shown that sometimes they follow and sometimes they don't. For example, I'll give you, because I also manage the gambling industry. So a similar policy exists in the gambling industry, and Facebook hasn't for many years, and Facebook doesn't have a similar policy banning gambling ads, for example. Or, so it depends on the platform.
What happens if a crypto exchange is regulated by the FCA? Would they be allowed to advertise?
I cannot answer that at the moment because our policy around exchanges, wallets, it's going to be developed in H2. So hopefully within this summer, we're going to have the guidelines. There's going to be a downtime, unfortunately, for crypto-related ads, asterisk, except of the CFDs on cryptocurrencies for certified brokers. But then the policy will be developed and we're going to, hopefully, there's going to be, under some requirements, advertising there.
Hello. I want to ask you about the betting. So since you mentioned it, can they advertise if they, say, they provide only live scores, but even if they have banners on the landing page, they are not allowed? Or
no, the gambling has the same. It's the same principle as here. If you're licensed in your local country, William Hill has a license in the UK, they can advertise.
Without any restrictions?
No. It's
okay.
Like now, if, let's say, IG has a license from FCA, they can continue advertising as they did in the past.
What if someone doesn't have a license? They provide the, let's say, live scores, and they just have advertising banners, affiliate banners on the right. Can they do that or no?
Very specific question. Okay. Outside of the, we can discuss later on. And Katerina?
Okay, do we have any last general question before we wrap up?
Okay, the question is about display ads. The policy will be monitored on the banner, so that's the ad, and the landing page. So display will not be blocked, but landing page content needs to be compliant, does not include this kind of stuff, and the ad and the banner shouldn't mention CFDs, and this kind of content. For the unregulated regions, because in the regulated is business as usual, and no questions about trends, only policy. The first part of the presentation, you don't? No. Okay, is it clear, the CPCs, everything? Okay, good.
Yeah. Obviously, it's very clear what your policy is regards to CFDs in Europe, because obviously if you're regulated by CISAC, for example, then it's fine. You can be regulated in 28, soon to be 27 countries around Europe. In Asia, you have to be regulated by every single country. That doesn't seem at all practical.
That's the difficulty of this policy. Yes, I tend to agree in principle, but since there is no common regulation in Asia affecting many countries, we need to go. Google has to go with the most conservative way and ask for regulation per country.
But if you say, for example, you are regulated by ASX, which is the Australian regulator, that is a fairly well-known regulator, and they have very high international standards. Why can't you just say that that would be acceptable for across Asia?
Because local regulation is absent in Asia. So, for example, Malaysia doesn't have a regulation around CFDs, CFD products. So this needs to exist. It's not only that you have a reputable regulator and then you can advertise in all regions, just the local regulation needs to be present to protect users and have a framework that also can protect Google and
Specifically for third countries, because we know CISAC issued circulars provide investment firms to get either a legal opinion or a specific regulator from the third country. And I don't know, for example, Switzerland, you just notify them that I'm regulated, they don't belong to the EU or the economic area. And it's just a process, takes 1-2 months to authorize you. Would something like that apply for these specific countries, i.e. Google, because it's obviously not in the policy, because somebody looked it up and they saw, let's say in Thailand, it doesn't exist for CFDs, but maybe, I'm assuming, Thailand would issue a legal opinion that regulators that are under MiFID or the Australian equivalent.
Okay, if yes, so if the regulatory body of Thailand does that, not a local law firm, right? So if the regulator of the country does publish that, then we can consider it, yes. And we can build a case internally with our policy team saying, okay, the Thai regulator is accepting, so we should do it as well. But this does not exist at the moment.
Okay, you're right. I think the chase will start soon for firms to collaborate.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for this courageous entrance into the lion's den. There were a lot of questions, a lot of interest.